Embarrassing to say it, get it over with. And we are going to be live in a sec. Awesome, let's do it. Hey guys, welcome to the Startup Tank Climate Investor Pitch Show, the ultimate pitch contest for clean tech, climate tech, and sustainability companies. If this is your first time, I'm your host, Matt Ward with Forward VC. We invest in companies that move the world forward through our partner in Clime Accelerator. To find out more about us and how we work with companies in a pretty unconventional way, visit forward.vc. And if you're looking to find resources for just about anything with your climate company, be that finding ideal investors, we've got a database of 900 plus climate funds, incubators, accelerators, and CVCs. Or if you're looking to network with other startups or corporates, or if you're looking to find clients, we have our Climate Techies community. We try to be a little bit of everything for everyone, so that we can help move the ecosystem forward. And that's what we're doing here with the Startup Tank. It's Dragon's Den, it's Shark Tank for climate companies. We have 5-6 climate companies come on, pre-seed to pre-series A, and 2 to 3 climate panelists. And we try to get some deals done, try to get some action, and try to get these companies forward, so to speak. Today, I'm joined by an incredible panel of climate investors. We've got Katharine with, how do I pronounce it? Oh wow, it's been a really busy day. The Builders Fund. I wanted to say that. It doesn't matter. Katharine Hersh with the Builders Fund, and we've got Daniel Mician with DFG Elements and Carson Vest with Forward VC. I wanted to share and let our panelists share a little bit more about themselves. So, do you want to go first, Katharine, and tell us a bit about the Builders Fund?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Matt, and everybody. Builders Fund, we're a growth stage private equity fund focused on impact-driven businesses broadly. One of our core investment thesis is sustainable systems, so climate solutions, resource efficiency, food, ag, circular economy. We're generally investing in later stage companies, but obviously the whole ecosystem needs to grow. So really, really happy to be here today.
We're super excited to have you as well. And then there's Daniel with DFG.
Hey everybody, so I'm a base venture capitalist, focused on seed to early stage companies and 4 verticals: climate tech, fintech, prop tech, and AI. That's basically us.
All right, and I think I can take it from here. Hey guys, I am Carson. I'm part of the team at Forward, so obviously we're pre-seed, seed stage. And I have a special interest in built environment and energy generation. So excited to be here and listen to you guys.
Built environment and regeneration are very important with what we're doing as well with Forward. If you want to find out more about our partner in Clime Accelerator, our super hands-on kind of invest in 1 or 2 companies and help them grow and scale, because you actually need a partner in crime while you're building your program or building your company. Forward.vc. We do pre-seed and seed stage, Europe, North America, and Israel. And a lot of the companies here, they're companies that we would consider not necessarily ones we've invested in, but you'll find out more as the show goes on. So how does it work? Is this your first time? Do you want to apply for an upcoming session? We do this every 2 weeks, Mondays at 5 to 7 p.m. You can apply and find out more information at thestartuptank.com. And every company here, they're going to get 5 minutes, followed by about 10 minutes or so of Q&A. And then at the end of the show, we'll see if we can find a consensus of our climate startup of the night, and they'll be winning all of the ultimate glory and honor and pride that goes with that. And hopefully some investors will be reaching out because they find the companies fascinating. So hopefully that's you. I've spent enough time about us and about me. I think it's time we hand things over to the companies. And we talked built world a little bit. Jonathan, you want to take things away with Structural Pal and share what you guys are doing to change cement and basically the entire way the build is built?
Sure thing. I'll share my screen.
Awesome. And you'll have 5 minutes. I'll give you a 1-minute shot clock warning to let you know to start wrapping things up.
Just let me know that you can see my screen and everything is working with the technology.
It's working good. It looks great. Take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Jonathan Lazowski, the CEO and founder of Structural Pal. I'll start by stating a fact that the construction industry is using too much material. To be more precise, more than we should. And that's roughly because we tend to over-design everything that has to do with building material. Concrete, the worst one. So StructurePal is here to try to eliminate that concrete over design using AI. And let's go into the problem. Okay, concrete, you said. Concrete on a very high level encompasses 10%, roughly 10% of overall CO2 emissions, global CO2 emissions. Just to narrow it down, 1 cubic meter of concrete, something you can imagine, will be responsible for 500 kilograms in its life cycle. Incredible. So even more data to dive into. When we talk about buildings, 80% of the weight of the building is concrete, its structure, and it embodied 50% of its carbon as well. And if to do things worse, 35% of the costs go to that structure as well. And we are going over 30% more than we should in the structure with concrete. So something has to be done here, but why are we over designing those numbers? And by the way, we saw even more than 30% in our life. Well, it has to do with the structural engineers, the people who are in charge of designing those structures, concrete structures. First of all, we don't have enough of them. There are more projects to build, and they basically have 4 weeks to design a structure, which is practically nothing. So they will have to use all kind of thumb rules and copy-paste tactics just to try and do it. And the end numbers are horrible, up to 10% losses for the developer, and again, 30% for access, which is incredible. What can we do about it? We provide a software as a solution, helping, first of all, reduce 50% of the design time without any learning curve for our clients and users, achieving an equilibrium of 15% reduction in volume and in cost and in CO2 emissions as well. How the deal works? Simple. For those 15%, roughly 50%, we ask for only $2 per square meter of floor plan. So the size matters in our case. Bigger the building is, you'll pay more, but again, you'll be saving a lot more. A little bit about the process. We say no to drafting and yes to specifying the challenge and the design parameters by the engineers within their own software and letting the AI, in this case, artificial engineer, do the work for them and optimize the design in an automatic manner, eventually providing files, that 3D files, finite element files, quantity reports, calculations, and everything they need to see that it's actually 15% less and safe. Don't believe us? Ask the guys from Covey, one of the leading structural engineering in Europe, roughly 7,000 engineering big company. You can see the numbers, and you can see that on the internet as well if you go to that link I just added. Let's drill down with the numbers. We can reach all the way up to $9 billion in income just because we're constructing 4.5 billion square meters a year. And you can see the numbers, but at the same time, on the right side, you can see the numbers that we can achieve by going into all this project. And we can go all the way up to 144 billion kilos CO2 emissions being reduced with our tech. And it's not that hard to get to that sum. That means we can have with 140 top tier clients and roughly 450 smaller clients to that number of $300 million income. So this is an actual business that can actually happen. Our strategy is going, first of all, to top tier clients. Simple. We're a small startup at the moment. We would like to have high volume.
1 minute warning.
Thank you. With little amount of accounts. We've been working roughly all around the world, beginning from Israel, our hometown, going into Europe, North America, and now even Hong Kong, and going a little bit to Singapore soon. We won a lot of prizes from the side of the climate side and the construction side. Have been part of beautiful and excellent programs. We are now about to launch our round A series, and we're looking for 2 early bird saves, so 500 Ks of dollars if you're interested to be an early bird with us. But the most interesting part is that the team is a team of structural engineers and architects who made a shift into tech, into AI, and we are developing that dream that we had as engineers now as techies. And not only that, we have the luck to have investors from all around the world, from Israel, CVCs.
And time
VCs,
is
and
up. What are you looking for? Where are you at right now? And what? Yeah, I guess let's leave it at that while I bring the other VCs in.
Okay, so what are we looking now? First of all, a lot of networking, investors for the next round, clients and construction companies and real estate developers who build big, but at the same time, they're trying to reduce that over design, trying to reduce emissions that comes from that over design. That's our mission for the moment.
Awesome. Katharine, you want to take things away? And for investors, just jump in when you've got questions.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what this solution is displacing or what the alternative is and why there's an incentive for your clients to change and to adopt this.
So for the moment, the problem is that we don't have any type of real optimization in our industry. That means humans have to do that hunting work. And because we don't have enough time or people to do that, you usually get a very unoptimized design at the end. Not because engineers are bad people, but that's the situation we are. AI has been doing similar stuff in other industries, and why not using the same methods, which is a reinforcement learning mechanism in that case, in our industry as well. And that's what we've been doing in the past 2.5 years, almost 3, by developing this software. Hope I answered the question.
Yeah, it sounds like it's displacing human labor, essentially structural engineer time.
Not only that, but actually the outcome that they provide, which is at the moment unoptimized, but an optimized solution.
Maybe a quick question from me. So how quickly can you integrate new customers to your platform?
So it depends. If it's a client that is already in a region that we penetrated, I mean, for example, in Canada, we're already working, no problem. It's practically 1 to 2 days onboarding them in terms of just talking with the design teams, not too much of installation, just simple chats, and that's it. And I'm saying new territories because our barrier or our challenge of entering a new territory is implementing local code and regulations, because obviously everything in the system have to work too. And it can take us 2 to 3 week stops to integrate the local code. It's basically explaining the AI in a mathematical form, what it has to, what's limitations that it can do.
And you mentioned in the deck that this integrates with other sort of software design tools. Can you give a little bit more context on that? And then what is to prevent those other software platforms from offering something like this? So
the thing is that it is kind of a black box at the moment, but it can be connected through different platforms, mainly BIM platforms. The first platform we went through is Revit from Autodesk. Obviously, 70% of the market uses that platform, so it makes sense. But the entire architecture of the software works that we work from outside. We don't work inside. We don't compute. Basically, we don't code Revit. We actually have a system. The entire brain is outside, so we can connect to different in the future. Again, it's a matter of time. And the fact is that if you look at the landscape of the other companies, most of the companies today will rather purchase companies as ours rather than develop their own. That's how things are doing today. Autodesk, for example, purchased a lot of different companies and integrate them into its own. Not saying anything about exit strategy, but it is part of it, of course. But yeah, no one has gone to, in the past 3 years, we've been talking with Autodesk, we're talking with different companies. No one has taken the leap yet. Again, because it will be easier for them to buy a company as ours in later stages than they're actually developed by themselves.
I guess a question on, oh, sorry, go on. Go for it.
Quick question. So what's the estimated cost and time savings associated with using your AI model? So in terms of time savings, it's very hard to tell about cost, because depending on how many different design iterations the project will go as a whole. That means architects can ask for changes, the developer can ask for changes, marketing department can ask for changes. So it's all about how many iterations. So as more iterations and more problematic, as you say, the project will be more efficient. We're crossing even more than 50% of time reduction, because what will take 4 weeks for an engineer will take 1 hour with our solution, and minutes for specific changes when are needed. For example, moving an opening, and then you need to move a column. So the AI will tackle it in minutes.
Yeah, quick one from me. So why now? Why is now the best time to do this? What's the kind of technology that's driving this product?
So the why now is a beautiful question. First time I've been I hear that. I think that we're moving into a path where climate change has done enough for all the countries and all the governments to start doing something. And if you look at the construction industry, we're talking about 39% of CO2 emissions come from that industry. So things are going to change in this industry. And the worst material in our industry, the worst economy inside the construction industry is the concrete one. It's 10% from global emissions. That's crazy. So we believe that this is the correct time to be the first one in that field. I'm not saying that you don't have other companies optimizing, but no one is optimizing specifically concrete. We have two competitors that are doing structures, but we are aiming to concrete. In the future, of course, we'll do steel and wood, of course. Concrete is the major one. Concrete is material for most of the projects worldwide. So the climate issue is driving us to do that change, to choose that. And in terms of technology, it just makes sense to use a certain technology that's called a reinforcement learning mechanism, because the problem with our industry is that you have a lot of buildings out there, but you have zero data on those. I mean, if I'll ask you, please let me know how many structures, different design structures are set as a data set, you'll have zero. That's the problem. So creating a mechanism that can teach itself by iterating and working with engineer makes a lot more sense. So technology-wise, it's the correct one. It's the deepest one that can be achieved at the moment with what we have. And yes, this is the time for that, for both of them.
So just quick follow-on question on that. So why is there more data now? Where are you getting the data from?
So one of the good things about it is the fact that we're generating now the data, because keep in mind that if you want to train a model, you need to bring data, good data. That means you need to import optimized structures and to teach the AI upon those optimized structures. The problem is that all the structures out there are unoptimal at the moment. So if you train it with that data, just trash in, trash out. So what we are doing while using reinforcement learning is that mechanism will teach himself how to improve in a specific project. Now we're doing 1 project, 2 projects, 1,000 projects, 1 million projects. And in the way, we'll start gathering more and more and more optimal structures. Eventually, you'll have the ability to structure a data set from those iterations. And from that, you can teach an AI. And from that point on, you will be in a situation where you can have a one-click solution. That means 1 second click solution from all the data set, but we're still far from that. And if we're talking about ChatGPT, we can even train a ChatGPT on that data just to tell you, okay, what even to do with your structure, how to even improve your structure. But again, we don't have that data yet, but we will have, and I'm glad that we'll be the main source for that data in the future as well.
Do you foresee any issues with new forms of net zero or low carbon concrete coming in, and how you factor those into the different calculations and designs you recommend?
So contrast, we would love to have more changes, because again, concrete mathematically is composed of 4 different parameters that you need to, that's how the system read it. So you can change those parameters, for example, just saying how much carbon it has, what strength it has, and so on with the 4 parameters. And even today, when you'll be designing a structure, the AI can take into consideration greener materials and less greener materials and give you the greener solution, because the fact that you will use a greener concrete doesn't mean that it will be a greener project, because perhaps that concrete will be weaker because the changes in the composition. Therefore, you're going to use more of that, eventually reaching to more emissions. The question is, where is that equilibrium between, let's say, dirty concrete and green concrete to have an economical solution first of most, but at the same time, the real green, say, combination of both of them, which is almost an impossible task today for an engineer to tackle in 4 weeks or even in 2 months, for that matter.
Quick question back on the regulatory and compliance considerations. How do you keep up with all the policy changes, and have any of your projects so far hit some roadblocks with that?
So luckily enough, the code that we need to work with changes very well, not too often, to be honest. Most of the codes are there from the 80s and 90s in most countries, don't really change over time. But if it does, it's pretty easy to make that change for us anyway. And again, because we're talking about structure, and because we're talking about construction, that specific code doesn't change that fast. For example, in Israel, it took us almost 10 years to apply a new code that will change how we build transformation slabs between buildings, for example. And it was all over the news. So luckily enough, I'll say, the codes doesn't really change that fast when it comes to structural design and concrete.
And then I guess one last question from me before we move on, unless everyone else has other questions. Why are you doing this?
Oh, that's the best question. I haven't presented myself fully, but I'm married with 4 kids. I need to leave a better place for them. As a parent, it's my responsibility, I guess, and StructurePal is giving me that chance. Because every cubic meter we reduce, I know that we're doing something better for them. I honestly believe in science, and I honestly believe in the consensus that this world is warming up, and with a simple technology, we can reduce so many cubic meters of concrete, and each one of them is a half ton of CO2 emissions. Just imagine reducing just some projects we did now of 27-story high building, we reduce 1,000 tons in Toronto. Just make the calculation there. I did something for my kids already.
Jonathan, just to follow up on that, what is your kind of professional background, though, to lead up to this?
I didn't hear you too good, sorry.
I asked, sorry, what is your professional background leading up to this?
So my background is in architecture, bachelor, master degree, even a third PhD that I had to stop because 4 kids and a startup is enough on my plate. But I taught for almost 7 years this specific topic in the academy, how to combine AI, machine learning, optimization, generative design into construction, into architecture, into engineering. And the idea floated from that point on. So eventually, it's not taking something I researched in the academy because I was researching different things, but this is my field. This is basically my life since I finished my bachelor degree.
And is there
Matt,
someone on the team?
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to follow up kind of on team construction. If you've got somebody who has really strong relationships with real estate developers that can help with the go-to-market motion. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So first of all, we have one of the best biz dev for that. Myself, with my background as well. We have a lot of connections. First of all, in the North American market, thanks to IONA, our biz developer. My connections as well. And one of the things that we discovered is that all of our investors are door openers for us. So every market that you saw on the map there was opened by an investor so far. And we're glad to have that because most of them, I won't say all of them are CVCs, but a lot of strategic VCs that most of their LPs come from the construction industry. We see that there are a lot of LPs today from the construction and real estate industry. So there's always a good connection, and that's something we always look forward to have in our investors. It's not a mandatory, but it's a good thing, and we see that there's a lot of potential there because it's a no-brainer for a lot of them to invest in us in that case.
Matt, is it okay if I ask one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I saw, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw you're raising $13 million. If so, what's that going to be deployed into, and at what deal terms?
So I would love to discuss it further if you want, Daniel, one-on-one, if that's okay. We're not launching it yet. We'll be launching that in December, but I would love to stay in touch and start talking with you about it. What we do having now is an early stage, let's say early bird saves that we would like to have just to have a little bit more cash flow. It's some hard times now for most startups. So if that's interesting to you, we love that. but I'll keep it as a secret for the moment from the audience.
Gotcha. And what's your, are you generating revenue at the moment?
So in terms of pipeline, we'll be achieving almost $500,000 by the end of this year. We reached almost $100,000 till now, and we started commercializing 3 months ago.
Okay, just last question, promise. The 13 million, don't you think that's a bit steep for such an early stage company? Why don't you raise a bit less, especially in this current environment as well? It's probably not going to be that easy.
I agree with you. We are still trying to push that forward. Again, when I'm talking about 500 by the end of the year, it's a pessimistic approach from our side. We do believe we're going to do more than that. And by that, actually, convincing more investors that 30 million is something that we can achieve. Moreover, we have a few, I'll say, VCs that are, say, global VCs, I won't say names at the moment, that are interested specifically because we deal with concrete, we deal with climate, and it hits a few of those corporates or, say, organizations in that matter. So the 13 will be mostly because 10 million of that is, I won't say secured, but is aimed for a specific VC.
And they can only write $10 million checks, and you guys don't want to have them as the only one.
At least 10 million. They can go up. 10 million is the lower, and they already show the interest. But again, it's interest. We don't have any term sheets or stuff like that, obviously, but we're aiming for that point. Yeah.
And just a note, guys, nothing here is a solicitation to invest or any of that garbage. You can figure it out and reach out to all of the companies if you're interested. And I'm not offering anything, and they're not offering anything. And we're just doing this for information purposes, learning, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for pitching, Jonathan.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Very interesting company. Well, I mean, while we're talking built world, why not keep things in the built world, so to speak, and go from building to flying. Etienne, do you want to take things away on IONA and share how you guys are trying to change the way that we deliver through that busy built world?
Yes, sure. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope that everything is going to work as usual. Okay, should work. Okay, can you see it?
See it, looks good. Your 5 minutes start now. Fly away with it.
Great. Hi, everyone. It's a great opportunity, and thank you for organizing that. I'm Etienne, the CEO and founder of IONA, and we have created the first drone that is fully designed to meet the needs and the regulations for rural deliveries, with revenue coming this autumn. So during the lockdown, I went back to my family in a small place in a small village in Brittany, in France. And I noticed a paradox. In the middle of the COVID pandemic, my grandmother's pharmacy was a 30-minute drive back and forth, except that she was 92 years old and couldn't drive. And I guess many people can relate to that. So investing the matter, I was actually surprised by the scope of it, global. Logistics doesn't work in rural areas because the way we do it requires volume and population density. So, for instance, 1 million people in Scotland can't access standard deliveries. They either need to pay delivery surcharges or drive their own cars long distances to the shops and collection points. In delivery surcharges, the Scottish paid £45 million last year, and the cost and carbon impact of unnecessary car journeys is many times that. And drones have been considered for quite some time. Many of you are based in the US, I believe, and you can probably expect to think about Amazon. Well, the reality is that current drone technologies are limiting use cases to light medical aircraft for very specific purposes, or expensive and heavy industrial drones. So to be effective, a drone must have a vertical takeoff and landing capacity to operate anywhere. But at the same time, the energy efficiency provided by a wing, like a plane. And an aircraft that accumulates both is a very complex fleet dynamics and flight control system challenge never done before. Or is it? Because the challenge required an all-star team. I'm a deep tech and clean tech consultant. I also lecture at London Business School in autonomous systems and entrepreneurship. I gathered a team of young and bright minds to lead the tech with a mix of expertise, especially because aerospace is a very traditional sector and the experience must be balanced with new perspectives. So Nikhil, Conrad, and Guy are leading the tech, but the UAV is the brainchild of Dr. Saif Dinakani, Cornell graduate, one of the best UAV engineers in the world, who won the Genius New York Prize in 2019 for his work on drone technologies. And he was the aerodynamicist for Ferrari in F1, but when they were winning. And also, we are incubated at the intersect of a global leading university for aerospace, Cranfield, which also develops the flight control, and a world-class institute for robotics, the National Laboratorium. And we did it. We made it. We changed the game with a new drone type patented that is 4 times more energy efficient, providing extended range, larger cargo capacity, and lower cost and CO2 emissions. So it has a groundbreaking cargo over mass ratio that follows a recently released regulatory framework, and its design has been validated by the Civilian Aviation Authority. Thanks to its energy efficiency, it requires only components off the shelf that are widely available, affordable, and currently follow Moore's law, so they get cheaper and better every year. In terms of operations, we are not actually competing with delivery vans. We are a complementary technology for when the volume goes under a certain threshold and that it becomes impossible to amortize cost and CO2 emissions. So in less than 6 months, we offer to drone service providers better margins on existing segments like medical, but also the capacity to compete in new ones like rural logistics. So it generates a lot of traction. And leveraging these operations, we want to increase the autonomy level because we can create fully autonomous logistics network and become local logistics providers 2.0 with a franchise model. You have we have a robotic aspect. I mentioned the National Laboratorium. It's a gantry system and a robotic parcel dispatch and battery.
1 minute warning.
Okay. And this is a revolution for rural areas because first, the drone can break even with 200 residents in a community, which is 10 to 20 times less than a delivery van. So it provides access everywhere to everybody, but also doing so, we reduced the carbon impact of logistics and car dependency because delivery is actually sustainable in rural areas because you avoid the short journeys that I mentioned before. In terms of business model, we are hardware as a service, which is perfect because maintenance is included. It's a customer request. And on the long term, we train the technology ourselves to improve the autonomy over time. And among our committed customers, Flex Drones Limited waits for drones to operate medical deliveries in Uganda above Lake Victoria. And Moray Council in Scotland needs our drone to stop delivery surcharges and give access. The person that you see is the Scottish Minister for Innovation. He's also a long-time supporter of the company. And
time is up. What are you looking for quickly while I bring in the other investors and panelists?
Sure. Well, we actually the pre-seed round is almost done. So except if you have small tickets, we still have a bit of SEIS. For instance, we're based in the UK, of course, but it's always interested to have a chat, especially for the follow-ups. We are discussing with Los Angeles at the moment, and we will have a US expansion very soon.
So, quick question before I hand it over: how do you avoid the almost the forced demand or the increased demand problem where, oh, there's more cars now, or there's more lanes on the highway, now I can drive more often, or now it's cheaper for me and easier for me to get the delivery, now I can order more shit online?
Oh, no, it's actually not possible where we operate, because if you consider the problem, it's a problem of, it's actually physics. It just, if you have 20 kilos of delivery in somewhere, especially with scattered delivery points and winding roads, you can't amortize that within a delivery van because you will use a fraction of the weight capacity. So the the price per cargo will be insane, and the CO2 emissions too. And at the same time, the way the environment is just not efficient. So if you have to use a delivery van with winding roads, it's a first problem. If you have to go on a ferry, if you have to use like any other complex vehicles, you just can't deal with it. So at the moment, it's either not proposed or with high delivery surcharges.
But isn't that a great thing? Because then there's less minimal deliveries being done, and now there will be more of small deliveries, so there'll be a higher carbon footprint and more. That was my point.
Yeah, definitely. The rebound effect is definitely a problem usually, but the reality is that the alternative at the moment are people driving individually with individual cars to the shops and post offices and everything. So if you take like Argyll and Bute, which is a council next to Greenock, next to Glasgow, with 90,000 residents, 71% of them can't access delivery. So it means that once per week minimum, they will drive individually and go on a ferry just to get like to the local collection point, post office, and so on. Most of the collection points being on average open for 5.5 hours per week. It's not even something that you can do while picking up the kids or anything. So it's what we call unnecessary car journeys. And it's something that is not necessarily straightforward, especially for most people coming from sustainability. We know the rebound effect problem. But we are working with Carbon 13, our accelerator, who's extremely involved in climate tech. And we have an extended carbon case to explain how we mitigate the carbon impact and how we close the loop, even to be mindful of the system boundaries in our own system.
Awesome. Thanks. Then I would hand things over. Daniel, you want to start this time?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Thanks for the presentation. So what is your starting market and what's the market size?
Well, that's the slide I didn't present in the end. So the market size is actually huge because we considered it to be a niche market that is not that niche. 30% of the population on average in the Western world lives in rural areas, and most of them are struggling with logistics. If we consider a bottom-up approach, and that we consider that at the moment the delivery cost, whether it be in the US or Europe, is around $10 in the US, £10, and it goes to 20, 25 in places that are a bit more difficult to access. If we consider £6 per delivery, which is what we discussed with Royal Mail, but also with Scottish residents and Scottish councils, we have a serviceable obtainable market just in the UK, 30% market share, £700 million. It's an 80 billion addressable market, just if you consider North America and Europe. So it's quite significant, and that's using a bottom-up approach. It's not considering, for instance, the fact that the same geometry that we have on which we have a patent can be used for medical deliveries, can be scaled up or down with the same energy efficiency for other purposes and other aspects like that, including the hubs. I didn't mention the robotic side because only 5 minutes.
I'll pop in here. So how do you ensure the safety and reliability of your drone delivery operations, especially in like highly regulated airspace areas or like crowded urban environments?
Yeah, well, it's because it's highly regulated that we are highly safe, and it's probably a good thing when things are flying above our heads. Well, we are regulated by the CAA, which is common with the FAA in the US, common with the ESA in Europe. We have a drone capacity thanks to the energy efficiency that can fly under 25 kilos of mass, maximum takeoff weight, which means that because we are more energy efficient, with 25 kilos, we can carry 10 kilos of cargo. But the thing is, most of the drones out there at the moment, under 25 kilos, they carry 2 or 3 kilos max of payload. And we can carry those 10 kilos to 70 kilometers of range. It's not the structural capacity of the aircraft, but we go for that because we're mindful of the regulations and the go-to-market strategy. Later on, we can use the structural capacity of the aircraft and go to 20 kilos of cargo to 130 kilometers, for instance, with a maximum takeoff weight at 45 kilos. So it's just like it's part of the go-to-market strategy, and I'm coming from strategy, so that's more my side. And it's also like extremely important to be safe and to be trusted by the people. So we operate at the highest standard in terms of regulation, with a failure every 1 in 10 million, which is also fully redundant.
And sorry, how far did you say that it goes?
70 kilometers with 10 kilos and the maximum takeoff weight at 25. So the easiest operations to have rapid commercialization, it's 25 kilos of maximum takeoff weight. I couldn't say like that in pounds. I don't know not confident with that. But no, 25 kilos is 55 pounds actually. And so we can operate BV loss, especially beyond vision line of sight, which is the autonomous flights in a way, with ease when you're under that, because the regulators are interested in how painful it is if it drops, basically.
And how does that work? So how do you guys handle like a loss of power or energy?
So electric motors are extremely interesting in aerospace, and that's why you have multi-rotor, because it's fully redundant. So even if you have one failure of one rotor, we still have three and we can fly. You also have the fact that we have a 3.5 meter wingspan. And so this wingspan is enough to glide. And so when you work with the CAA, which we did, every step of the design was validated by the CAA to make sure that we fall into the specific category, the 25 kilos I mentioned. In that case, they will just let you know, okay, like for us, we're not confident with that part of the thing, like you should have more redundancy here or here. And so we made sure that between the glide, between the motors that we use and between the avionics that we have, we are completely fine with the regulators.
On the cost side, I'm curious if you can share more about sort of the all-in cost to build the hardware, and then if you have any kind of data on initial O&M costs, like how much it's costing to service.
Yes, but because we are live, I'm not going to go too much in details, I fear, but I can tell you that at the moment, in terms of production cost, we can achieve about £14,000, and we have the running cost in terms of maintenance. Everything is off the shelf, so that's quite basic and extremely easy to scale. Also, the main element, the main complexity comes from the airframe, which is a composite material. You create a mold, so it's an investment in terms of mold that you can decentralize in any composite manufacturer, and after that you can go just like produce any type of airframe and a large number of them. And you can also, and most importantly in terms of operations, train a technician on site, not an aerospace engineer, and so you can run the maintenance just by, it's a plug and play. Like we have to change the batteries every that many hours and things like that.
If it's plug and play, why not lease the technology to other providers? You're going to be manufacturing and then also be the logistics company?
Because we get an interest in, well, what I usually say about autonomous systems is that we have to change the way we were thinking the business in terms of linear way, which is also something common in sustainability. If you're a service provider of an autonomous system, you're not making like the real value added of it. So if we were just leasing the technology, we wouldn't make it autonomous and turnkey in the end, because the real interest is to have the hardware as a service, as a plug and play system. So how many drones do you need? How many hubs do you need? And you don't have any complexity. We handle everything. Autonomous systems being autonomous, a service provider of an autonomous system naturally becomes a non-necessary intermediary at scale.
Yeah, question from me. So when, if not already, will you begin deliveries and where?
So we have two main aspects at the moment. We have a contract in West Africa, where we also have waivers that are easy to access, so we can fly before the certification. And it also answers a problem in aerospace, which is the chicken and egg between you need to fly to get certified, but you need to be certified to fly. So in Scotland, they are really keen on us flying and not many people around, so it's fine. And we know that we can operate in Moray Council. I briefly mentioned Richard Lockhead. I reached out to Richard 2 years ago when I started the company, and he was the MSP of Moray. He still is the MSP of Moray, member of Scottish Parliament, and he was protesting against delivery surcharges. It turns out that in between, so he signed an LOI with us, and we did a case study together, and we work closely now. In between, like a few months ago, he became the Scottish Minister for Innovation in charge of funding. And in between also, we got a grant from the Department for Transport. So I was with the Minister, the UK Minister of Transport, just a month ago. So we know that as soon as we have demonstrated tech, we can use main service providers to scale, and that's already good. But we can also use regional development plans as an infrastructure to scale. And so that's something that we want to do. So first, long story short, Scotland and West Africa.
Those are really, really, really different markets. How do you handle that from a team perspective, from a logistics perspective, from a sales perspective? It almost couldn't be two more different markets, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's extremely interesting. That's why I'm having fun. I'm the only business person at the moment in the company, and something that worked really well is that when we reached some kind of a level in maturity, when we clicked, so Nikhil is specialized. He's in charge of aerospace. He's specialized in UAVs, and he's also a UAV pilot. And Conrad is coming from a mechatronics background. And so when you mix actually disciplines, you get more value. That's at least the finding that we had. So the team was a struggle at first to have the right people, but then it's a flywheel of positive outcomes because people are bringing more people. We are hiring 2 more people at 2.5 in a way because there is part-time too. And it's only recommendations. We have a lot of applicants, spontaneous applications also, but you bring people to the table that are coming from different disciplines. And that's what also makes the defensibility, because people in aerospace tend to want to do like blue sky research and go way too far in directions that are completely insane in terms of product market fit. And robotics people and aerospace people will not necessarily talk to each other because it's just 2 different industries. And so when you have something like that in the same company, first it's really interesting because people have fun and they learn a lot from it. But at the same time, you get a value added that is extremely hard to get in, especially in large corporations.
I got a question. So where and how will you manufacture each drone, and how are you planning to scale?
At the moment, we have a workshop at Cranfield Airport, Cranfield University also, because we are incubated there, so we have access to all the facilities, machines, and everything. We also have an agreement with SATE, Sustainable Aviation Test Environment in Orkney. So we can use the segregated airspace at Cranfield. We can use the upcoming BVLOS area on which we are working actually with Cranfield that is coming to Milton Keynes and Cranfield area. And on top of that, we can use the BVLOS area in Orkney, or also the one in Nouvelle-Aquitaine next to Bordeaux and Biarritz in France, where you have 100 kilometers to fly BVLOS. So we have many areas where we can operate. And the idea is just like to have commercial operations as soon as possible. So the area in Scotland is more interesting because we can demonstrate the value added, where flying in Milton Keynes is more like for the flight test because it's convenient, it's close by.
And how will you manufacture these drones?
Off-the-shelf components, so we can ask, well, for instance, Maxon is providing the motors. It's a global company and from Switzerland. So it just means that we can have assembly workshops in the regions where we want to operate. If the operations are big enough, on the short term, we can just send the drone and send the replacement parts when they are needed with a technician that we train on site. We don't need, even in terms of regulations, we don't need an aerospace engineer to run the maintenance, because it's really simple. It's replacing a battery, basically. So.
And the current financing, maybe use of funds, or what are the key milestones you're trying to prove out with this capital?
Yeah, we operate in a very lean way. First and foremost, because it wasn't possible to do otherwise differently the past year. Now we are in a much better situation. If we had on our pre-seed, we still have maybe 200 or 300K that we can accept, but it's a pretty small ticket for most investors. So we still have 92K of SEIS, for instance, that we should use because it's just a possibility. And this money will just increase slightly our runway. And also we will reach a level of maturity for the MVP that is released in November that will be much more compelling for an upcoming seed round. Carbon 13 is supporting on the seed round. US stakeholder will also, it will be official soon, support on the seed round. And the idea is then to maybe gather just a bit more money for the seed, get the MVP done, and for the seed we will go for first operations and full autonomy. So point to point, fully autonomous. We already have the IONA hubs, the station at TRL4, with a possibility to just pay the National Battalion to produce it because the CAD is ready. So after that, we have the system and we can just like implement it and train it with the drone.
Very cool. Any last question, folks? Then Etienne, thanks for pitching. Thanks for sharing what you guys are doing. It's very interesting. Sorry for giving you a hard time, but that's my job. And we got to try to poke holes and find out where the best opportunities are. Speaking of, if any of you are out there and looking to fundraise, you're looking to find your ideal investor and you're not sure who, forward.vc/VC database, got 900 plus funds, incubators, accelerators, and CVCs. And you can filter by stage, sector, geography, and check size. So you can figure out exactly who you should reach out to find your ideal investor. We've also got our Climate Techies networks on Slack and WhatsApp. You can find those at forward.vc/techies, just the number 4ward.vc. And that's a great place to network with, 3,000 or so fellow climate techies. And we've done land, we've done air, let's do sea. TrueAlgae, Taka, do you want to take things away and share how algae can play a big role in our future? Let's see, here we go.
All right. Okay, so you can see my screen, I guess.
I see your screen. It's looking good. Take it away.
So thank you, Matt, for inviting us to present. So TrueAlgae, we are unlocking the biology that started 2 billion years ago. Please look at this picture of sunflowers. It's not the same. It's drastically different. And I will explain you to today how we make this happen organically. So, solution is in the soil. 1 gram of soil has 10 billion soil microbes, fungi, and bacteria, much more than the global population. If we work together, if the soil can do better job, great thing is going to happen. So, everybody knows the status quo cannot be continued. Climate change is accelerating. Innovation like TrueAlgae has to accelerate really fast. We use too much synthetic fertilizer, too much chemical, 200 metric tons a year. Global food system, including agriculture, is 34% of global, greenhouse gas emission. We cannot continue to do that. If we check the carbon content declined over 60% since 1900. We need a new solution. So we believe the True Soil, our organic soil booster, is a solution, the climate solution. Although we have a limited, research evidence and we have to raise more funds to do it, but we have evidence where we can cut down the synthetic fertilizer usage up to 75% with positive yield. And there's a lot of articles these days. Mycorrhizae fungi, one of the fungi, is storing carbon as of today, almost 1/3 of global fossil emissions. And we have, one research study, and we have to do more. But when the farmer applied to the soil, our organic fertilizer, and then when they experienced drought, yield difference was 60%. So True Soil, how are we going to do it with a sustainable solution? How are we going to do it? We increase the beneficial soil microbes up to 1,000% through signaling. If we apply our True Soil more nutrient uptake, for example, phosphorus is very important macronutrient, we increase over 22%. We have been delivering such an exceptional ROI with a healthy soil up to 18 times for farmers. So how are we going to do it? As you can see, this is a production facility in Dover, Florida. You can see the green, but what we do is we keep the microalgae in optimal environment, but we are not using the actual biomass. We are filtering our biomass. We use the useful metabolites the microalgae express. So we rely on photosynthesis and such a low input cost to produce our product. So what does the True Soil does? It sparks a conversation within the soil and plants. This relationship, the mutually beneficial one, started 450 million years ago, and we enhance it over 1,000%. So I want to share some of the beneficial soil microbe that we enhance. Azosporium, help to fix the nitrogen naturally. One of my favorite one is mycorrhizae fungi. Mycorrhizae actually penetrate inside the plant roots, becoming the part of the root structure. It stretches over 50 meters horizontally and vertically. When the leaf fall down, leaves have lots of nutrients. It needs the help of earthworm, but it also needs the help of trichoderma breaks down organic matters. We do all of this through signaling. So not only macronutrients, the human and the plants need 18 macro and micronutrient. We also have a research evidence showing we also improve the micronutrient uptake, iron, zinc, calcium over
1 minute warning.
Okay. So where we are is we are doing a lot of B2B trials with a large agrochemical company and mid-sized agrochemical company. Because of the NDA, we cannot disclose it, but we are working with many. This is our team. We have done second or third startup, and we are determined to make a lot of changes globally. So where we are now, we have already raised $6.5 million. We try to raise $1.3 million for our last seed round. So please take a look at this picture. If the sunflower looks so different, one of the reasons it's better phosphorus uptake. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Taka, for pitching. Let me pull in our other panelists. And while I do, my first question would be, when you increase all of those micronutrients by 22%, if the number is always the same, I get a little suspicious. So why is that? I assume is that just a fluke?
No. This is based on actual sample. We just check the leaves, and it across different crops, strawberry, over 20%, 22, 24%, which is quite impressive.
Okay. And the other question I would have quickly is, if you've raised $6.5 million, why are you raising a seed round now for $1.3 million?
So we are cutting edge company. We are using the metabolite. So we have to do a lot of research and development. We have this amazing platform technology to use a metabolite that microalgae needed for the last 2 billion years. There are a lot of research and development that we have to do. Also, we have to hire staff to grow more.
I meant more that you've raised so much and now you're doing kind of probably a decent down round.
Oh, no, we raised $6.5 million over a 5-year period.
Okay, understood. Carson, do you want to go first this time?
Yeah. So can you speak to the cost effectiveness of your algae solution compared to other traditional alternatives?
Okay, so I really wanted to stress that we are not the algae solution. We are using the metabolite that the microalgae expressed, and I actually wanted to show it. Can you see it? This is actually TrueAlgae. So there's no green, and this is already 4 years. So 96% water, 4% metabolites. So it's very effective. For example, we did the corn field trial. It will cost farmer $2 to $3 per application, and we increased the yield over 15%.
Farmers are usually really skeptical, though, and increasing yields is something where it's a challenge to get them to pay until they've seen the results. What's your go-to-market plan?
So initially we thought that we are prebiotics for soil microbes, so we defined a mode of action. So as I show it in one of the slides, our strategy is to work with mid-sized fertilizer company and global fertilizer company. We are happy to inform that they are testing our product with their product. So one of the reasons is this is a TrueAlgae. There is no carbon, so we can mix with any fertilizer product as long as it's liquid.
Do you have any studies available or any proof that the product works?
So we already have more than $2.5 million in sales. So it's already proven, and we published all the results. So from fruits and vegetable, raw crop, corn and strawberry, even the tree nursery, it all works as long as the plants or fruits and vegetables sit on the soil.
And maybe can you provide a little bit more information about the business model? Are you licensing the technology to these fertilizer companies, or are you actually selling the metabolite directly to them that you've produced?
So it's the liquid product. So in the US, we manufacture and we even ship it to California from Florida. So that's our model. And for the B2B, we don't know. For example, one of the largest regional fertilizer company, they might do a licensing deal. So we have one small company in Mexico, we are licensing it. So at this moment, our strategy is produce our product and sell it, becoming the secret ingredient. But since if one of the largest agrochemical companies is interested, probably we will license our technology to produce it.
Got it. So the sales to date have been actual product sales.
Yes. We started from individual farm, then we graduated to distributor, Now we are dealing with mid-sized to large agrochemical companies.
Sorry, is
And
there?
what's-
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead. Jim.
Catherine. So, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what I want to understand, particularly this new segment that you're approaching around the agrochemical companies.
Mhm.
What is to prevent them from developing this solution in-house or doing this technology themselves? You know, they have large production capacity. They're already producing
Yes.
fertilizer. What are the barriers around your IP that would prevent them from essentially stealing this?
So first of all the microalgae related companies are focusing on actual biomass. We are the only one who are focusing actual metabolites. We cannot disclose the name because it's live and confidentiality. One of the agrochemical company were using fermentation technology to produce metabolites. We are not doing it. We are relying on photosynthesis. And there's lots of trade secret. We found 2 microalgae strains that complement each other. For anybody to find this, probably take 10 years to develop.
Is there any kind of a recurring element to the revenue?
What do you mean by that?
So, for example, if you sell the product, does the soil require kind of replenishment all the time on a periodic basis, or is it like a one-time?
So, for example, like a Florida, our initial strawberry farmer, what they do is after they harvest strawberry, then do watermelon, they kill everything, and it's a sandy soil. They have to start from year 1, start from 0. And these micronutrients, it's a trace mineral, just a little bit, and they need. So, for example, mycorrhizae fungi is so essential, 80% of the planet, because they becoming the part of the root structure, right, stretching to 50 meters. When the plants die, they also become dormant. So they need a product to enhance the symbiotic relationship between plant roots and the soil microbes. So they need it every year. And our evidence is as long as they apply, it works, and the customers stick to it. Because yield increase is only one of the benefits. We also increase the nutrient uptake, for macro and micronutrients.
How'd you get the 2.5 million in sales? And if you've got so much in sales, why do you need the kind of smaller VC check?
So continuously, we need to develop a technology. We have to do a lot of research because we are the real pioneer for unlocking this metabolite technology, using the microalgae. A lot of research needs to be done. And we really need to build a team.
But why not grants? I feel like this is dead in the heart center of Europe's grants.
True. We can apply for a grant, but it takes time. It's the climate change is accelerating because imagine the scenario where we can advance more technology and we deploy more. We can address food shortage. We can also reduce the fertilizer. It's difficult to do it. There are so many benefits, and the technology like ours and other company that they presented, we must grow fast.
What's your current runway?
It's well over a year.
How much are you burning a month?
Like 50K, depending on the sales.
And how big is your market?
Well, it could be a $200 billion because it's, large agrochemical company, they understand the status quo cannot be continued. So biological is very hot. And especially talking to a lot of, large agrochemical company, metabolites are sought after, because it's the soil micro, fungi, and bacteria, they need metabolites to grow and increase their numbers.
Why haven't they bought you or invested in you yet? If you've got all these pilots and you've got the results and they're paying you already, what something doesn't click?
So we for the large agrochemical company, we are year 1 or year 2. So one of the problems for agtech is if you plant the corn, you have to wait a year to get the harvest. And then usually, even if you had 1 year, 15% yield increase, everybody's skeptical. Wow, it's a weather, the soil condition. So you usually take 2 to 3 years from the initial field trial to actual sales. So we are in that curve. So we started with a small farmers initial 2 years. Then we migrated to distributor. They continued to buying us. Now, since we defined the mode of action, that we are working with mid-size and large agrochemical company, but it will take another 2 to 3 years.
Is there still growth and market opportunity with those initial segments, the small farmers and distributors?
Yes, we have, but we learned that attracting another 100-acre or 500-acre farm might take 2 to 3 years. B2B customer, and it takes also 2 to 3 years. And the great news for us is some of them are approaching to us because I didn't present it. We are selected to plug and play. We are very proud for the Thrive. We are the People Choice Award, 1 out of 400 company over 63 countries. So we are up and coming. But in order to discover the science, in order to get this far, it took a lot of time and effort.
And what's the valuation that you're raising at?
It's a 12 million pre-money.
The cardinal sin, you never want to say it online.
sorry.
No, it's all good.
So we already get from existing investors and a new investor, we have already commitment of 1.3 million. So we have 2.2 million to go.
And what will that get you to?
Well, it's hiring more people, doing more research, a lot of other things.
But what milestones, like what are your kind of tangible goals that you want this funding to help you achieve?
I think we're going to file more patent. We're going to do a lot more field research, especially on the environmental impact, because for example, there are a lot of articles, it's very encouraging. Mycorrhizae fungi actually store 36% of global fossil emission. We haven't done any research. We would really love to do that to build more of a climate case.
Does that climate drawdown still apply in the scenario you were talking about where, the strawberry farmer in Florida, they wipe out everything in the field each year, so that there's still permanence to that carbon drawdown from the mycorrhizae?
Oh, yes, they apply actually mycorrhizae fungi, and then they apply a product, and then and happy to inform you, after 2 or 3 years, they are start cutting down the synthetic fertilizer about 25%. So we have seen the evidence. Some of the farmers are doing, the thing that research suggests.
And then the fertilizer companies that are kind of combining your product with their product would have trouble then with the selling fertilizer. So then it's the idea to license your product so they can get rid of their product and just sell your product.
No, not get rid of. I think it's just, from, applying 200 million metric tons of chemical and to zero is difficult. So for example, in order to achieve, say, hypothetically 7% yield increase, you need to apply, 10 units of phosphorus for whatever the acre. We can reduce it to could be 25%, 30%, 40% more. That's substantial. And another thing is, if we stand alone TrueAlgae, we have great result. But if we mix with other biologicals or other product, it has better results, especially if fungi or bacteria-related product, because we enhance their numbers up to 1,000%.
How are you monitoring the uptake? So I know like one company that I'm an advisor for, Dot's, an Israeli company, they're doing something kind of similar in the nitrate space. And the big challenge is when you're putting fertilizer on, there's no way to really measure how much is being taken. So it's like feeding people, then they throw out half of the plate and the chef didn't see you threw out half the plate. So they bring you another plate, which is more or less how fertilizer goes. How are you guys actually monitoring uptake on the plants themselves?
So we actually do the sub-sample. So we take out the leaves and check the nutrient content with application to resolve and without. So the all these result over 20%, uptake of the phosphorus, iron, zinc, and manganese are based on sub-analysis. So it's actually the real results.
Understood. Any last questions, folks? That looks like it's it. Then Taka, thanks for pitching. Thanks for sharing. And thanks for the years and years of research. It's certainly no fun, but looking forward to you getting it into the market and getting rid of some of the fertilizer out there.
Thank you.
We've got two last companies on. First, a quick pitch. If you guys haven't hit the subscribe bell or subscribe to the Startup Tank, it's a great way to meet other companies, to find the companies you want to invest in, or to look for partnerships. Just thestartuptank.com/YouTube, or you can find us on all your major podcasting platforms. And if you're looking to network with folks in the space, we've got almost 900 folks now in our climate WhatsApp communities. Forward.vc/WA. You can hop in there. We've got different communities for energy, food and ag, infrastructure and built world, fundraising, biotech. You can find your people, so to speak, and hopefully network in ways that are synergistic or helpful for you, your company, or for companies to invest in. Again, that's forward.vc/WA. And we've got basically everything else the climate ecosystem needs to thrive somewhere on our site. So just hop over there. But now let's move things on a bit. Nick, Optimise AI. Let's get rid of energy usage a little bit, which would be great considering how hot it is here in Europe. No AC, so no AC is painful in Zurich these days.
Cool. I'll do the usual. Present my screen. Shout when you can see. Yeah.
Good. Sorry. Take it away. You look good, Nick. Let's go. Are you ready? Oh, Nick's here.
Hello. I don't know what happens then. I just lost you.
No worries. You're back. Let's try the screen share again.
That was weird.
I'll blame Putin.
Just took me off. Can you see it?
Looking good. Good to go. Take it away whenever you're ready.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm Nick Tune. I'm CEO of Optimise AI, and we're a spin out from Cardiff University. And we're all about unleashing the ability to save energy and carbon emissions from the operation of buildings. So let me go to the next slide. So what's the problem? The problem at the macro level, as I think we all know, is that non-domestic buildings are churning out a huge amount of energy and a huge amount of carbon. And I don't know about the rest of the world, but certainly in the UK, businesses are literally going bust because they can't afford to pay their energy bills. You know, energy bills in the UK have gone up 250%. So leisure centres are closing down, you know, swimming pools are going, hotels are closing down because they can't pay their bills. Coupled with this is the real need to reduce carbon, and finally people are taking it seriously. And you know, the International Energy Agency is saying that we need to reduce 50% by 2030. You know, that's less than 6 years to actually make this difference. So kind of now is the time to answer that question. But the big problem with achieving that is the information problem. And that is a real lack of data, a lack of performance data. This here, as you can see, some of the models is showing Cardiff city centre. And we were looking at lots of the different buildings here for Cardiff Council, and they just don't have information. And then when data is available, it's often siloed. And when it goes to the facilities manager to actually use it, often they have a low level of data literacy and don't even know how to use the building management system, for instance. So they're just basically operating their buildings based on their own knowledge over years, but not off data. And that is in effect what we are, that is what our patent is all about. It's how to actually get the best insights from buildings that have low amounts of data availability, which is 99.99% of buildings. So we're plugging the gaps of the data. And basically our middleware that we're using, which is patented in the United States, we've got 2 patents on it, basically creates this building nervous system, if you like. And we're using models and the digital twin to supplement the data that's currently there so that we can then get better insights. And we've, as you can see here in the dashboard, this is actually a stadium for one of the World Cups, the World Cup stadiums for Qatar. We've got a digital twin dashboard that actually tells the facilities manager what to do and can actually run and actuate it themselves. So as I mentioned, we're looking at non-domestic buildings without BMSs. We're looking at ones with inefficient BMSs. Those two make up 99.9% of buildings, and then ones with state-of-the-art. We've got our tools, which is called PredictX, which is for that non-domestic buildings with little information. Optimise for the ones with BMS, but not very good, and Actuate. So we create the digital twin, and off that, we usually get a saving of around 15%. And then we virtualize the building management system, of which we get 20% saving then in total for PredictX and 30% saving for Optimise and around 35 for the Actuate tool. So we actually actuate and run it. We then, because we can take so much insights from limited amount of data, we could actually help phase out the BMSs and some of the sensors, and that in itself reduces embodied carbon. And over time, we're managing on the grid and demand grid response. So in terms of markets, UK market, obviously, because that's where we're based, European market, and then we'll be moving into, as the grid gets decarbonized, there's still heavy, high carbon grids in Australia, parts of USA, etc., which we'll be focusing on. In terms of projects we've done to date, we've done numerous. We've had £10 million worth of research funding over 10 years, and we've delivered over 20 projects. And the savings we've had, which have been validated, have been in the region of that 30–40%. You can see the types of carbon and energy savings that we've done. One project here, it was a big district energy network for a redevelopment site in Wales, and you can see a couple of swimming pool examples. What makes us different? I know this is a busy space and VCs often say this. The big point of difference is they don't have a self-updatable digital twin, and they don't have a patented ability to use semantics in how they understand the building and the energy with the BIM and the digital twin. And in fact, if any company like Siemens with Bentley tries to start using the BIM to reduce energy consumption, they're infringing on our patent. And we've got patent attorneys kind of looking at that. So we've got a really strong protection.
30-second warning.
Okay, in terms of addressable market, there's obviously a huge market. And even if we take a 0.5 stake, that's still 20 million quid within a few years. We've got projects, and we're delivering a project at the moment with Network Rail. And we've got Atkins as a big partner, and we've got a whole lined up load of companies to work with. In terms of the team, it's the team from Cardiff University, myself. I've done several business startups and ran businesses, and I'm part-time a director at Atkins, which is a major engineering global firm.
Time is up. What are you guys looking for?
Yeah, we're looking for 750 is the raise that we're looking to do. So roughly $1 million. And we've got about probably half of that from the Development Bank of Wales, but they're only come in as matching. So we're looking for that kind of ticket, 300K size.
And how much customization do you need on like a per project or per building basis? You said you've been doing this, but for 10 years.
Yeah, it's been in development. No, it's not. It's not a company. The company was only registered literally in a month. So it's been in the R&D and development phase and building it up for different types of projects and cities, etc. So that's where it is. The whole point of the money is to take it from all this body of research and actually get the thing out in the market and selling it. We're doing it with companies already. In fact, I've got more opportunities than I can do. What we have to do is it's TRL7. So we have to take it, we have to put it on the cloud, and we have to make it that SaaS, easy to use product. And then in terms of company acquisition, the PredictX tool, all you require is we need the meter readings, and we're using them big data from energy performance certificates and data around, if you like, lots of different elements, and we're fusing that up. We're then taking them through the value chain, upselling them, if you like, to the Optimise and the Actuate, which is where they potentially might need a few more sensors, etc., which gives us higher levels of granularity and higher levels of carbon savings.
Awesome. Katharine, you want to take things away?
Sure. Nick, I thought the slide you showed about the different carbon transition pathways for buildings with and without BMS was helpful, because when I looked at the company, it was unclear to me if this was dependent on a building having a existing building management system. Is the value prop stronger for buildings that have already a system in place, or how do you think about that? And is this really dependent on having something in place?
Yeah, but not at all dependent. And that's the big differentiator, right? Because nearly all buildings don't have building management systems. And then the ones that do, they're nearly all crap. excuse the French. So the point here is we can, if you like, sit on top. So we've got APIs to connect or whatever the data feeds is, and we can improve them, we virtualize them. But also then for the massive market out there, there's like, we worked out, we could easily hit 10 megatons of buildings out there in terms of carbon that just don't have a solution. Nobody's looking at them yet. So that's additionality.
And so you're not limited in any way by your ability to implement the solution. If the building doesn't have a BMS in place, would you ultimately be guiding them towards putting something in place?
Absolutely. So the PredictX is the cheap, easy to use tool. They just give us the information and then we start giving them good insights. And then, as I said, at the value chain, then you're selling to them, well, you might want a bit more. So then we might put a few more sensors in. But what they're doing is they're making huge savings because they're not going straight to Schneider and paying a fortune for a business management system that's way over engineered, which is always the case, or Johnson Controls or whatever else. It's a way of getting an entry system where they're getting some nice insights based off their bills, if you like, their meter readings, and giving some insights and then upscaling them towards that levels of improvement.
And who are your target customers?
So at the moment in time, we've got Network Rail, which is the body that owns the railway systems in the UK. And we're working with them on a train station, Reading, which is kind of massive station. Well, not massive, but it's a big one outside London. And then now we've got a conversation with them this week about Bristol, which is another big UK station. So they're really keen on their stations. That's led to Scottish Rail. And they've asked us to look at 20 stations, because the good thing is they've got 20, they developed 20 BIMs, building information models, and they literally don't know what to do with it. We're saying we can subsume the BIM, because that actually, we can make an energy model off that BIM, give us your data in terms of how, whatever BMS data you've got, or even if it's just a meter data, we can start giving you insights really fast. So there's those. Blaenau Gwent, which is the people who own that big redevelopment site in Ebervale, want extra work in how to optimize with batteries, because they've got a combined heat and power unit and they want to optimize their energy across the site with battery storage. So we're looking at that. So there's various ones, we're targeting largish energy users in buildings, of which, as you can imagine, there's an unlimited supply.
And how much revenue are you generating from those customers?
So it's really early days. So we literally, just that kind of pre-seed. So at the moment in time, it's just purely via consultancy. So we haven't set up the SaaS model yet. That's, if you like, what a seed or pre-seed funding is to do. That's, I've got a whole financial forecasts. At the moment, you're talking kind of, £40,000 type projects, but they're more, I wouldn't call them research projects, but they're more hands-on. What we need to do is we need to get it to be that commercial model business that can then start replicating. I'm almost at a stop, if you like. We need to raise the funding, get the people to then go to that next phase to then get it growing.
What's the team?
And how long?
Go ahead, Carson.
How long do you think that would take to build out that SaaS model if you raised?
Yeah. We think we'll be upselling properly within 8 months. It's to say it's very well developed at TRL level, but it has to. We need to take on UI, UX, and we need to take on people who are good at making a SaaS platform.
What's the team and the cap table look like?
So it's the academics. So there's the 3 inventors and myself. So I'm the biggest shareholder, obviously. There's them, and then the university has a stake as well, because they're obviously giving us the patents.
How much stake did they take?
Are you American?
I am.
Yeah. This is where you'll struggle. 18%.
Oh,
but 18% is lower than the UK average, which is 20%.
That's a large amount. Are the technical guys, are the professors, or the tech folks active in the business, or are they just the IP?
So they're coming over. They're coming over to the business
full time.
Yeah, 2 of them are full time. 1 of them's seconded. Yeah. And the university is fair play. It's doing a lot in terms of it's not just a static partner. It's actually done a load of introductions for companies. We've got free accommodation, lab space, all sorts as well. So I am trying to milk them as much as possible.
Sounds like you've done a really significant number of research projects. What's the opportunity to convert any of those into commercial customers going forward?
Yeah, a lot. So Blaenau Gwent, which was that local authority in Wales, that came from a research partner previously. Associated British Ports, who own, all the docks, they're interested. They were keen on taking it forward. So we've got, I think the pipeline, it sounds kind of bullish, but we've got a pipeline. It's honestly not my concern, that short-term pipeline. It's the bump, if you like, of getting over to be able to sell, to get it going to sell to them, because we can't keep selling it via the university. The business isn't set up like that. It's got to be a business.
Why did it take you this long to get to this point of realizing, hey, we have something here?
Good question. We've talked about it for years, but personal circumstances didn't allow me to do it. And the honest answer, but the big thing is that people didn't take carbon as seriously as they're starting to now. And energy prices were much, much lower than they are now. So people were like, oh, this is great. I'll save 20% or 30% on my energy, but, it's still potentially too much like hard work. Or carbon, yeah, that's interesting. Now people are screaming because they're paying. They can't afford to the bills, and people are taking carbon seriously. So that's the two main reasons. But then coupled with my position, and also another really important one, the patents came through this January. So between my position changing, the patents coming in, and the energy bills gone through the roof at the back end of last year, you think about it, it's like one bum. Right, now's the time. I'll ditch the job and do this full time. And I'm coming from a very high paid job, so it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, Nick, can you just give us a bit more detail on your background?
Yeah, so I set up an organization in Wales called the BRE, the Building Research Establishment, and that does all the building regs for the UK, and it's like a massive research arm for sustainability. So BREEAM, you might have heard of LEED. Well, LEED came from BRE. Which was originally BREEAM, and then it got stolen and made into LEED in the States. So that's that big organization. I did that for 10 years and also headed up digital. I then went off after 10 years and then set up the UK arm of a company called CoBuilder, which is about getting data, specifying what data you need in operations and then getting it through the whole supply chain. So I did that for 2 or 3 years, set them up, and then went to Atkins, which are a massive major, like AECOM. And I was digital director in the UK business, and a few years ago, the technical director for the global engineering business. So I've had that kind of career, as well as doing lots of other things. I set up research centers. I ran the Building Smart, which is the body for data standards for construction for BIM. Yeah.
And how did you get connected with the team at the university?
I set them up.
Oh, you set them up.
BRE was actually as a charity. It was owned by a charitable trust. So we used to fund research. So I funded research centers across the UK at different universities. And the School of Engineering one was the one I set up. So Professor Yassine Rezki, who's my co-founder, I appointed him like 12, 15 years ago.
Is there time for one more question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, can you just talk to me about the market and the sizing, and how much you expect to charge kind of each of your projects or customers?
Yeah, so the market is kind of I've got actual figures, but it's in the many billions. We worked out that even just the 0.5% of the digital twin energy market is was it 25 million? That's just a ridiculously tiny portion, right? So the market's huge, the opportunity is huge. No one's looking at the buildings where there's lack of information. All the BMS companies are selling their solutions, and we developed part of the biggest products out there, because it's called EcoTexture, which Schneider sell. We were partly developed that product for them. So the market is absolutely huge. No one's touching that bit of the market. In terms of the pricing, the PredictX is an entry-level product, so it's relatively cheap in a kind of monthly SaaS figure of like £500 or dollars a month, and then it builds to Optimise, which is the more, and then Actuate, which is running the whole thing, up to a few $1,000s a month per building.
And do you have an estimate on how long it will take your customers to recoup their investment on energy saving?
Yeah. I've got all those figures. It's about 2 to 4 months.
Why not charge more?
That is an option. Absolutely. But it's early days, Matt. You know, we're as I said, we're ultimate new startup. Even though we've been in the game for a long time, as a business, we are fresh. You know, it's not that we haven't got a long track record. This is pre-seed kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys are consultants and trying to make a product out of it.
Well, not really. We're research developers and made a really fancy, really cool product, but we don't want to be a consultancy. It needs to be a SaaS product that gets scale.
Understood. Last questions, folks? Then Nick, thanks for sharing. We got one last company, and that's loop charging module, actually, with Wesley, who's trying to have a new form of EV charging, which is always competitive, but in this way, it's a bit interesting. Wesley, you want to take things away and share what you guys are doing?
Give me a minute. I'll share my screen. Yeah.
Looking good. Take it away whenever you're ready.
Okay. Is it visible?
It's visible and looking good.
Yeah. So generally, transportation contributes over 30% of the whole world's pollution. So now EVs come into play. They are claiming that they are making this world greener. Is it really? But observing it clearly, most of the energy requiring to charge an EV car is still coming from the thermal power. So it's basically not really eco-friendly. So we are making this a completely eco-friendly EV cars. So how we are doing that? I mean, the problem, and also the problem continues goes on like it will having a charging scarcity. I hail from a city called Kadapa in India, in which we don't have a single charging station till date. On a research, there is only one charging station for 395 cars, and people will feel fear of charge drain, and it takes almost 7 to 8 hours of charge to fully recharge an EV car. And there are some existing devices, existing designs in a market which ruins the aesthetics of the car. So this is what we are trying to do. Our LCM consists of 4 parts, which is a propeller and a special ingredient. I don't want to mention it as we are in a live, and gear set and the generator. So we'll be fitting this inside a EV car. So this special part which is here after the propeller, it is the magic ingredient of this whole setup, which generates torque 2 to 3 times of what it is getting from the propeller, and moreover, it addresses the speed fluctuations because a car cannot drive from point A to point B at same speed. There will be speed fluctuations. We'll be addressing that speed fluctuations with this special ingredient. And yeah, the solution we build, we don't disturb the design. Will be doubling the charging speed, that too while on a drive, and we offer the highest durability. And innovation mode possible. Our battery division plan, which will be dealing with the software part of it, will completely eliminate EV cars to charge it with the external charger. And we have done some extensive simulations and got drag as least as 0.013. And we'll be placing components in specific way. We are provisionally patented that in India. So that provides highest durability to it. And this is the coming to the opportunity, the total addressable market is $693 billion. And SAM is 346 and SOM is $173 billion. And who is this relevant for? We are a B2B based model and we are targeting OEMs. So it is not an add-on project. People needs to people will get LCM inside fitting it in a EV car. And intercity customers will be traveling from one city to another city. They'll not feel the range anxiety. So that's they're relevant for. GTM will be testing it with some selected cars, and we'll be targeting some EV manufacturers who have production more than 30,000 plus, and we'll be arranging some camps, never charge your car again, like that. And we'll be creating some short film enhance the brands and target international manufacturers using existing synergies. and competitive landscapes. So the current competition that as of LCM has is all the competitors are trying to develop fast charging solutions and also battery swapping solutions, which is not good solutions, which is not possible for the EV cars. And there are some solar powered and Electrion is doing with the induction charging solution. So, but they are not a one-time solution or which makes a EV car location utility free, but they are offering a recurrence expenses to the EV car users basically. So these are the existing patents that are in US patent official website, which damage the car design and which don't have that efficiency what LCM delivers. So business model, we are a B2B based model, and even if we target 1% of the EV car, I mean 1.1 million cars. So will be projected revenue would be $899 million by 2026. And our price point is for sedan cars will be giving them
45 seconds.
Yeah, $670, and for XUVs we'll be giving it for $914. And this is the product roadmap. We are asking $250,000 for 7% equity. This is the P&L view for 2026. So our gross profit would be by 2026, it will be $500 million and above. This is our team, obviously Rohit and Jayashree. I and Jayashree take care of technical part and Rohit takes care of business part. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. While I pull people in, is this a device that charges the car while you're driving? I'm not sure if I'm the only one that was a little confused.
Yes, it will charge car while driving.
So where does the initial energy come from? Because you're losing energy.
Okay. So how the basic, I mean, the car will be charged the car will be already charged. So when the LCM is refitted and when it drives, so whenever it will be encountering the air when it drives, I mean, whenever the air will be encountering by the front hood of the car, so that energy will be converting by LCM to generate the extra energy to charge an EV car.
There have to be losses. So I mean,
so we are estimating to generate. I mean, we are estimating to increase its range by 70 to 80% of it. So as of our calculations made, we'll be estimating to generate around 30 to 40 kilowatt hours.
Okay, I would let Daniel or Katharine go next.
Yeah, so I'll jump straight to the figures. Notice that you said 500 million in gross profit by 2026.
Yes.
How will you achieve that?
Yeah. So in the first year, we are a B2B based model, and we are also trying to give. I mean, we are provisionally patented, of course. So we are giving giving licensing to the OEMs. Moreover, we'll be selling it as by 2026. We'll be targeting to generate 10 lakh units. That is 1 million units. With that, our revenue would be $899 million, and cutting out the cost will be left with $500 million revenue profit.
Could EV manufacturers even switch their entire kind of fleets over to something like this by the end of 2026 to then order that many millions of units from you guys?
Okay. We as I mentioned earlier, we are not targeting every 100% of the cars by 2026. We are just targeting only 1% of the market. Even with that, also we will be able to generate $500 million.
Sorry, so how much are you charging for this? It's like a device, right? Or system?
There are two price points. One would be for SUVs, it would be $650 and above. And for XUVs, it will be $900 and above. Because as for sedans and XUVs, there will be a different battery pack capacity. So we need there should be a different generators that we should be using. But
and now, is this a complete substitute for other charging models, or is this just an additive?
I will say it will be an additive at least for the 2-3 years from now, because the additional R&D should be done. So that is the reason why we are seeking funds to do R&D for 50 months runway. Later on, we'll be integrating our system with the solar, so that will completely make EV car independent of external charging.
I still don't totally get the math. So you're saying if you got 1% of EV cars that were sold, I thought you were talking about India, first of all, but either way, there's 10 million EV cars sold a year. So if you get 1% of that, that's 100,000, and then you're selling these for $700. So you get like what, 70 million?
So all the calculations, I mean, even in India, currently there are 16 lakhs, I mean 1.6 million cars right now in India, EV cars. So by 2026, the projected would be, I mean, even in India, there will be a coming schemes called it EV 30 at 30. That means 30% of the all cars should be EV cars by 2030. So based on that calculations, even 65% of the total addressable market would be 1.1 million EV cars. So calculations is
so retrofits then, not new cars.
Yeah.
Wesley, can you share a little bit more about the current status of the technology, the production, and any pilots you have? Like, has this been implemented in EVs? What has the initial data been? It sounds like there's additional technological development required. Just tell us what the current status is.
We have made a prototype one, which is a basically proof of concept, we call it as. So we got this, as I mentioned, we got this special ingredient which increases torque 2 to 3 times. So we are yet to made that, and we got an angel investor to made, who is also a marine engineer in Al Vessel company. So we are making that. So yeah, we are yet to do that.
And so you've made an initial proof of concept.
What TRL status are you at?
Sure.
Sorry?
What TRL status are you at?
I'm sorry, I'm not able to.
Technology readiness level.
We just have a proof of concept right now, and we are yet to develop an MVP.
And has it been implemented in an EV?
Not yet.
Okay.
We are able to do it in a month or a month and a half.
What do you need to do to be able to do it in a month from now? What do you need?
I mean, we are developing a product currently, which consists of that special ingredient in that whole setup. So in that 1 month, we are making all the necessary requirements in a lab, which needs to be done with this device. And yeah, in a month, we'll be completing making this MVP. And in a month, after a month, we'll be fitting inside an EV car and testing it in real life scenarios.
So you keep referencing an ingredient. Are you talking about a component within the car? Or are you talking about what exactly?
It is a mechanical component, which I should not disclose it because they are professionally patented at that. So at that, what it exactly does is it increases the torque, which will be getting from the propeller 2 to 3 times, and which also bypasses speed fluctuations problem that is there in India or any other SAR countries.
So, Wesley, what is the actual innovation here? What's the kind of differentiating factor?
So the actual innovation is people are, I mean, it is most difficult to find a charging station while going from a point A to point B. And coming to the innovations, we are making EV cars range extended by 70 to 80%. And even with the further R&D, we will make, with integrating with the solar power, we will make EV cars completely independent of external charging. So they will drive ultimate eternally without any charge.
Sorry, I think that's clear. I think what is the actual technological innovation? How are you able to do this?
What do you mean by that?
What technology do you have? Have you developed that others have not?
What are you adding to energy?
Sorry.
What are you adding to the car to capture energy to then repower the car?
So the additional technology, I mean, the basic as I already shown the already existing things. The additional thing what we are making is we are increasing the efficiency at each and every stage, coming right from the initial hole that will be made into the EV card, and till the gear set, will be increasing the pressure that will be coming from the air to hit the propeller, and will be increasing the torque that is coming from the propeller to reach it to the generator, and will be increasing the RPM from the gear set, and ultimately that will makes the efficiency even more better.
So essentially, we would be using wind energy, and that would be that power would be harnessed and taken back to the battery of the vehicle, essentially, increasing the battery life of the vehicle and increasing the range of the vehicle. So we are essentially making the car, not needing an external charging station as of now for at least 70 to 80% by increasing the ranges. But of course, later on in the future, we have, like we said, we have a solar plant coming in, which would completely eliminate any external charging station required to charge the car. So that's where we're coming from. And like you mentioned, Matt, to answer one of your questions, how much charge would it initially take to, get the machine running and, to actually get the product working? So as a car would charge overnight, and when the car's in motion, we would approximately take 30 to 35% of the vehicle's initial energy to ensure that the vehicle has 100% charge in order to, continue running. And essentially, we're solving the problem of charge station scarcities, especially in India, because like Wesley said, we really don't have that charging infrastructure in India. And a lot of people have anxiety, driving anxiety when they have to purchase an EV, and that's why they prefer a gasoline vehicle. So essentially, what we want to do is try converting people's mindsets and try converting the way EV ecosystem works as a whole, and eliminate any sort of anxiety that's required in terms of driving a vehicle. So that's essentially where we're coming from.
Does it work when it's raining?
Yes.
Aren't you going to get water in important systems then?
Wesley, will you answer that?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question? There's a network issue.
He was asking whether does it
work rain
or
snow, is that going to kind of cause a problem, you getting wet stuff in places that don't want to be wet?
Okay, wait. So we'll be using a two-way filter over that. The initial hole will be made into the front hood of the car. We'll be using a two-way filter. The first filter will be eliminating the 70 to 80% of the large whatever is it, dust or the rain, snow, whatever it be. The owner should be usually clean that the basic the front filter, and the second filter will maximizing the flow towards the propeller so that it would rotate at maximum speed.
So it's all about efficiency then.
Sorry.
So everything's all about efficiency then. It's kind of a common concept.
Exactly. It is everything all about efficiency.
Can you patent that then if it's all kinds of existing knowledge that you're just making more efficient?
Okay. Coming to that, as I mentioned, there is a special ingredient. So we are patenting the using of that special ingredient in this whole setup. So we are doing that. So without that, it will be a basic wind turbine model. So there'll be no point of using a wind turbine model inside an EV car, which don't have that efficiency to eternally charge an EV car without.
So you've got some type of chemical in there that's then getting expanded by the moving air.
It's not a chemical; it's a mechanical component, and which increases the torque by 2 to 3 times. So,
okay.
And yeah, it works with a fluid and it bypasses the speed fluctuations, as I mentioned earlier.
Go for it, Carson.
Will this be compatible with all different, like various types of EV models, or are you going to have to structure it for each one?
So this is a completely new model that is coming out, and the existing models are, as I mentioned in the competitive plane, they are recurring expenses, and where we coming to the LCM, people only need to buy only one LCM for the entire life of their EV car, and location utility. Even there are some even how there will be no point like how many EV charging stations they'll put. They have to wait for that time, and they have to wait for a longer period of time, 7 to 8 hours, or if coming to the DC chargers, they have to wait at least 1 hour. And Also coming to the LCM, there'll be no need to wait for a ample of time.
Also, to add on to that point, since most EV cars have a lot of front space in the front bonnet of this bonnet section of the car, the actual unit is very compatible for most EVs that are around in the market right now.
Do you worry at all with Tesla's being rolled out as the supercharger network of choice in the US that auto manufacturers wouldn't adopt something like this because it's a different system that goes against what they're building out already?
It's all about the customer's comfort zone. Even if Tesla is building all the fast charging solutions, whatever people need to wait for a time and also find a charging station, and also fear about the range anxiety. I mean, fear about the charge drain. So when it comes to the LCM, it's always it solves all the problems.
But who's your buyer though? Your buyer is going to be the B2B. You said you're selling through into the auto retailers and are the auto manufacturers, and are they going to then feel the need to do this solution when the problem, at least in a lot of geographies, is already solved?
Yeah. So coming to the B2B based model, let's take example of Tesla. So Tesla, if they want to build a one charging station or one charging infra, so they need to spend more than some $5,000 around like that. But when we offer them our LCM device for $1,000 or for $900, as I mentioned earlier, so it will be a benefitable for them too.
No, I mean I get that, but I'm saying they're going to build out all of these systems in the next couple of years while you guys are still figuring things out. And then those systems are already going to be there, and then will be A, a sunk cost, and B, already functional. And then because you're going to take several years to get this actually, there's no way you're going to have 900 million in sales in 3 years, because you have to get this through to building, testing, pilots, and then production, and then scaling. Are you worried at all that you get left behind?
So coming to that, when we offer, I mean, it's all about the competition. When another EV car company which has a LCM, which for those car company customers will not able to, I mean, we will never fear about the charge drain. We're coming to the companies like Tesla. Let's suppose if they are not choosing LCM, their customers will be still looking for charging stations and fearing about the range anxiety. So ultimately, that will make them convert to LCM.
Also, to add on to that, Matt, like you said, like you mentioned, Tesla is doing fantastic in terms of developing their existing technologies and trying to come up, and like we mentioned, there is not a product like ours out there in the market yet, and at least around India we do hold a patent. But you're right, anybody could make a small twitch and could come into the space as well. But it would take them a sufficient amount of time, and that time is our competitive advantage. And right now, our GTM strategy is that we're right now focusing on India for the next 12 months. And we would want to tie up with manufacturers who have a production capacity for 50,000 plus. Example, like the Tatas, they have a massive production facility and they plan to build more. And that is who we're targeting first. And after 12 to 13 months, we would tie up with global companies, global brands. And honestly, who wouldn't want a car that could charge by itself? If you give an option of going to a charge station and waiting, let's say even if it's for 5-10 minutes with the greatest of the greatest technology, would you rather want to charge your car by standing at a station, or would you just want a car that charges by itself and not worrying about going to any location, stopping, just going on your your highway drives and just enjoying it, right? So that's essentially what we're solving.
I get what you're saying. My example was just that Betamax was better than VHS, and VHS won. And that was the one kind of caveat or worry that I had. More questions from any of the panelists? Well, I think that's that. Then Jay,
Thank
Wesley,
you so much.
thanks for pitching. It's very interesting. I think you guys could do some incredible stuff with it. I just had a couple of questions, and then think there's definitely there's definitely some things that you guys have to figure out. You certainly need to move fast. But either way, it's time. It's getting up to the end of the hour. Now we come into the last segment of the show, our climate startup of the night. This is where, as panelists, we try to come to some consensus on who we found as the kind of most interesting, innovative, or appealing company to invest in. And just pick one or two companies that you would say are your favorites, you want to set up meetings with, or you could see maybe doing an angel or a fund check into. You want to go first, Katharine?
I'll defer to others because I'm a later stage investor. So I feel like I'll give the floor.
Okay, Daniel, you want to take it away then as our other guest?
Yeah, sure. I think TrueAlgae is a pretty interesting solution. I would consider looking further into the company. It's generating revenue. I think if there's that recurring element, that's really interesting. I just want to know a bit more about unit economics. But that's the one I would kind of pick, although the other one's also look really interesting.
Yeah, I think, and of course, just the caveat for everyone, all the companies here, very interesting companies, very promising. You're all doing awesome stuff. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. We filtered out lots of other people. But I can kind of agree. I think TrueAlgae is very interesting. I worry a little bit if it's maybe too deep research focused and not commercialization or business focused enough would be one of my potential challenges, as well as ag tech being a bit slow to sell into. The other one that I found what was very interesting was Structure Pal, although that's a bit beyond kind of the scope for us with Forward VC and our partner in Clime program. If they're raising 13 million, it's a little outside of our accelerator firepower, so to speak. But those would be the two that I found most interesting. Carson, you're up.
I'd have to second you both. I would say TrueAlgae was probably the number one in terms of technology, but then Structure Pal, like I said, have an interest in built environments. So definitely had a little bit more of an interest toward that one.
And Katharine, you don't get off that easily.
Yeah, I'm happy to weigh in. I think Structure Pal was really impressive in terms of combining both the opportunity for some real impact in the built environment and the beginnings of some global scale. So certainly interested to learn more and to follow the company's trajectory there.
Awesome. Then it looks like TrueAlgae nudges out Structure Pal, but we kind of have two that were a bit higher up, and all the companies. Congratulations for coming on. Congratulations for pitching. Where's the best place for people to reach out and learn more about you, Katharine, and what you guys do at the Builders Fund?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Katharine Hawthorne Hersh, and on our website, thebuildersfund.com.
Awesome. And Daniel, what does DFG stand for?
Dobro Family Group.
Okay.
Yeah. So the website is dfgelements.com, and probably the best way to reach out is via LinkedIn.
Via LinkedIn. And then for Carson and I, we're with Forward VC. If you guys are interested in a partner in Clime, someone who invests and then comes in and is literally in the trenches with you with dozens, hundreds of introductions on the business development, the pilots, the corporate and partnership side of thing, as well as someone who can help you fight to find the employees, the team, or find your investors that you need. Check us out at forward.vc, the number forward.vc. We've got that climate VC database there as well if you want to find all the best investors, exactly what they're looking for, so you can have those customized outreach emails. Forward.vc/VC database, and be sure to join Climate Techies, where we've got about 3,000 folks, founders, investors, ecosystem partners, and techies over at forward.vc/techies. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll do this again in 2 weeks. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. Share this around. And if you know a founder who would be a great fit, just send them our way, thestartuptank.com. Likewise with the panelist. Thanks everybody for coming on and tuning in. And all of you have a great night. Wow, we hit the timing perfect. Everybody in Europe, go grab dinner and enjoy it. Cheers.